show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
Hey, welcome to today's episode. We are here with Stephen G. Pope. We're going to talk about some business automation, not business automation, but social media automation. And we're going to talk about business too, because you bought and sold the business. So we're going to kind of talk about that too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got into entrepreneurship. Like, some people fall into it. Some people start it at birth. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, I think for me, it was really at birth. So like, I was always trying to design products and sell them to people. And of course, it's always your family first, right? And like I think the first couple of sales you get is always like a sympathy kind of purchase, right? So I created a paper computer and my uncle bought it for $10. And
wow.
Yeah, so like I said, it's sympathy, right? Like, who would need a paper computer? But they were just helping me out. Yeah, so just like I was always just interested in building things and solving little problems. And then I just like made the assumption is like, well, if I solve this cool problem, then you must want this as well. When you get into the real business world, that doesn't always work out that way.
It's a good thought, though.
Yeah, but it's a good early thought to have, that just everyone wants all your solutions, especially in the tech world, right? Because like I'm in the tech, I helped a lot of startups too, and like everybody has their brilliant idea, and like most of them go nowhere. But yeah, I mean, I think I was always just interested in selling stuff, coming up with products. And then it just so happened, like after I got my degree in computer science and went out into the job market after that, it was the first .com bubble. And I don't think I was trying very hard, but I couldn't get a job. And it just so happened that like a few people started reaching out. It was like, oh, you know, computers. I've been doing computers since I was a little kid. So like for me, like there's all these separations of skills now, like DevOps and programming and hardware. And so like to me, it was all like, I just knew how to do all that stuff. And so I knew how to kind of piecemeal lots of things together, hardware, software. And so like when I would go work with startups, that worked out really well, because like no startup, well, I can't say no startup, but a lot of the times you're kind of putting things together. And so then I ended up doing consulting, and then I was just doing good work for people, and then ultimately built that company up, to a couple $1 million a year. I was at Inc. Magazine's fastest growing companies, and then I sold that. So my entrepreneurial journey has really just, been from the beginning. I've only had a W-2 job like probably 2 or 3 years of my life.
No, one of the big things about entrepreneurship is just finding that whatever that problem is, and it might be a good idea to you, but the marketplace will tell you really quick if it's a good idea or not.
Yeah, and that is kind of the cool thing too, but it's hard for people to take that leap. It's like you can get the marketplace to tell you things before you even build it, but it takes some restraint to do that, right? Like, because for most entrepreneurs, you get excited. It's like the only thing you want to go do as soon as you have that idea is to go build it. And the thought of going out and just asking people if they want it, I think that all sorts of things get in your way. Like you're afraid they'll say no, like maybe deep down, like they don't really want it, or you have to go talk to people. So if you're introverted and especially in the tech space, you got to go talk, and that could be nerve-wracking as well. So there's all these different things that kind of keep you, because the interesting thing, there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. I think this is more of the rare type, but they just go, they don't like come up with any problems. They don't solve any, they just go and ask people, and then the people tell them, and then they go build it, and they take the fast route. But I think those types of people are a little more on the rare side.
And I like what you said, like when you're a growing company, you don't have all the answers or the people. So you kind of have to depend on resources outside of your scope, just because you don't have all the answers, and that's okay.
Yeah. Plus, that's what's fun for me with technology. I always loved looking into one industry, seeing what they were doing, and then looking into another industry, And like the things that I take are like commonplace in that industry. But like you can bring some things to another industry where it's like nobody even knows it. And then if you take two existing ideas and put those together, it's like you can make this hodgepodge. So there's like when you're coming up with ideas, like there's a few different ways. It's like you could have a purely original idea, which I think is more on the rare side.
Yeah.
Or you're borrowing things from other industries, or you're combining different things, or you're just doing like a hodgepodge of all of the above.
I've noticed that, and it's crazy. I've noticed that recently is that like there could be like you said, one industry like totally everything built out, and then you go to another industry and like they're totally missing that one key piece that can accelerate and make things better, and it's just not there. And you produce it and pitch it to that niche of fly.
Yeah, especially like content, right? So like startups, they're understanding this kind of thing. Like they're like startups understand content, need to get my word out there, organic content, like in the professional services realm, consultants. I mean, not to say that none of them know about that, but a lot of them are just stuck in the old school, like traditional networking groups. And not to, I always want to make sure I'm not like bagging on traditional networking groups. A lot of people have made a lot of money and built successful businesses, but I don't think it's necessarily the future of like just a few people in a city getting together and just getting their 2 minutes to give their pitch every other week. There's a lot of ways to scale your business, and content is one of them. But like most professionals out there just don't, it's like totally foreign, even though like the startups are just like, this is the best way to grow.
It's like the phone book. Everybody's like, I want to get in the phone book. Let's sit in the phone book and pay ads for the phone book. I'm like, no one has phone books anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we laugh, but it's like a lot of businesses, it's still the same thing. It's like they just don't. I mean, they're experts in what they do, right? So they don't have some of these common things. And like when you start to get on video, I don't know how you were, but like I was terrified to get on video. And so like in like marketing strategy, like it's actually not complicated. It's like one of the most, like if you just go to Google and type go-to market strategy and just read it for like 10 minutes, you'll be like, whoa, that was so simple. Like obviously who, what, why, where, and how. It's like, it makes so much sense. But like, if you don't look at it, then marketing could be really foreign to you. And then you're just like always trying to piecemeal things together, and like, you don't know why things work or why they don't. And so like, you can just never figure it out.
So what's something, and I think, how long did you operate your own business before you sold it?
I think I was 12 years or so.
Wow. 12 years.
Yeah.
So, well, this is a question I like asking for people that have been doing it for long. How do you prevent burnout this for 12 years? Yeah.
So I think partly, that's interesting. Like, I think for me, like I've always had a certain resiliency. So like, I definitely would say I was burnt out at times, but I would just kind of like check out. Like I've always been able to recover from that kind of thing. But I do think it's like you want to reduce the number of things you're doing. You want to have focus. You want to be focused on making an impact with people, because it's really easy to get yourself into a thing where you're just doing stuff and you've lost touch with the fact that you're supposed to be making an impact in people's lives. And like impact usually comes from going deep on something, not from doing a lot of stuff. And so I think kind of keeping a measure on some of those things, and because you only have so much time, and you have fun with the process, have fun with it, and give yourself some time off and spend some time with your kids if you've got kids. And yeah, so it's like that's probably the best advice I could give you, is like enjoy the process, I guess.
Was there a point that the reason why you sold your business was like, it was like, hey, is it bigger and bigger things? Was it the money? Was it the freedom of not having to do that thing anymore? That one thing that took all your time? What was the biggest reason why you sold your business?
I think ultimately I fell out of love for helping other people build technology.
Oh, okay.
Because it's really hard and it was getting really competitive. And I didn't really want to niche down into something. So I think if you're going to build a software agency right now, like probably your best bet is, it's like, I think there's only two directions. You go, you're the cheapest on the market, and then people will pay you, because lots of people need technology. So if you're cheap and you do semi-good work, people will pay you for it. Or you go kind of niche, right? And I grew up doing all sorts of stuff, so I didn't want to be niche. And I just got tired of, and I'm sure if I had the wherewithal at the time, I could have solved this. Like if I knew some of the things I know now about marketing and like niching down, but I didn't quite grasp all that like I do now. But I just got tired of like people not appreciating what I was doing. Like it was a funny thing in technology. It was always like the hardest thing everyone thought was the easiest thing. And the things that were the easiest, they were like, whoa, that's incredible. And it's just like with technology, it's like it usually, especially when you're like doing consulting, a lot of the times it just didn't go exactly the way I wanted. You know, I mean, we did a lot of kind of like making it sound real negative. We did a lot of great work for a lot of people, but I just got tired of some of that friction of like, oh, we're over budget. Well, it's like, yeah, you're over budget. This is technology, man. It's like, it's always going to go over budget. It never comes out the way you want it. And, you know, and like that people would spend all this money on these startups. And like we were talking earlier about like product market fit, they didn't really have product market fit. They're building all this technology and it would go nowhere. And you know, I guess I just got tired of that.
Spinning the wheels. You wanted a greater purpose.
Yeah, well, that's a funny way you put that, because yeah, it's like I wanted to tap into a purpose. I probably, like, knowing some of the things I know now, I could have probably applied some of that. But yeah, I wanted a purpose. I want to like make an impact on people's lives. I have a pretty specific purpose in life now, which is really to like, because this is at the core of what I'm good at. I've always been really good at like seeing the potential in people. And if they're interested in hearing my perspective on that, then I'm good at helping them get the tools and the resources to help them reach their maximum impact. And so that's kind of like, you know, regardless of what I do now or what I was doing before, it was always with entrepreneurs and business owners for the most part. And so like I'm tapping more into that now. Like, how can I help these people and make an impact and help them make their biggest impact?
I think I want to hit a point though that you just said, is that you sell to people who want to be sold versus people that don't.
Yeah,
not everybody wants to get sold. And
yeah,
kind of worded it a little tricky there, but that's what you said.
Yeah, well, because like I have opinions on, like, if I got to know you better, I'm sure I would come up with all sorts of stuff like, Daniel, you could do this, you could do this. You might not care what I have to say. But so I've had to learn that as well. It's like there are people that are really interested in what I have to say about their future. And then there are other people that could care less about what Steven has, like what Steven's vision for my life is. You know, it's like, it's just because I see something in somebody doesn't mean that's what they want or what they're looking for, you know? So like, it's just something that I have, but it's not necessarily it doesn't mean that it fits with everybody.
I think that's wisdom in your experience talking, because a lot of people struggle with that early on. They think everybody like, and I have had the same issues. That's why I recognize it too, because I'm like, I can help people. I can help so many people, but nobody wants to listen to me. And I'm like, well, maybe it's the way I'm saying it.
Yeah. And then, but also, and that's the interesting thing is like, you make that realization. Now you have to make sure you don't go the other way, where you dilute yourself and you start telling yourself that nobody cares about this, because there are people that do. You just have to kind of find your tribe. And that's what's cool about the internet now, is that you can find your tribe. Like, you have to put in some effort. You have to commit to them before they'll commit to you, but you can go out and find your like-minded people, right? Like you came across a TikTok and you saw what I was doing and you're like, hey, this guy is like, somehow we connected, and social media allows us to do that. And now here I'm on your podcast, right? And I'm excited to be on it because we're like-minded and we have similarities, you know?
It's being consistent to find your tribe, because your tribe isn't everybody, and not everybody fits in that box for you. So like I'm not afraid to lose clients or customers. I'm sad that they could go, because I know it could help them, but not everybody's a good fit. And they sometimes people have to go.
That's a really interesting point too, because like when I first started scaling out my business, I realized at a certain point I was like, I'm taking on some clients that really aren't a great fit, and lo and behold, those clients weren't getting results. So especially when you're like doing consulting, like picking the right clients is like crucial, right? Because if your business is based off of getting people results and you're taking the wrong people, then you're not going to get them results, and nobody's going to talk about you. And that's critical. So I actually took a step back and I was like, okay, I'm going to actually allow it's hard to do this. Like I'm going to allow myself to scale back down and somewhat just make sure that I bring on the right people, because I have to work with purpose-driven people. That's one. Okay. Yeah, because I do live shows. I get on video. I'm like I'm evangelizing my word. Like if you're just a practitioner of your business, and there's no judgment here either, but like if you're just a practitioner and you're running your business to make money and you've got enough clients, like you're not going to want to do more, right? And so I realized, like, I look back at my clients who are getting big successes, and it was like, oh, they're purpose driven. Like they have a mission. Like those people will never give up no matter what. And that's the type of client I need, because like with a client like that, all I need to do is make a few adjustments,
and they'll act already.
Yeah, like I don't like they'll just do it, and then they'll like if they fail, like it's like not like it's just like part of everyone knows it's part of the deal. And then whereas like if somebody isn't purpose driven, I could pour my heart, my soul, every resource, every how-to information, every little thing, and it's just not gonna. It's just they're not gonna do it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good insight. That's pretty good insight, because not everybody's gonna hear it. So, what other things are you looking for besides purpose driven? Because I think this is a good conversation to have.
Yeah, I think purpose driven is number one, and then number two, like I help people with content. So, and usually my clients as well are like they sell advice. So they're a consultant, a coach, a professional firm, or an agency, because that's what I've been my whole life. And so, usually I'm looking for that. I do work with a few startups, tech startups, but like right when we met, I was like, hey, I can totally help you, but this is a little bit outside of the realm. And then usually people that want to do some sort of video, like they want to, and that's part of my journey as well. Is like I used to be afraid of video. I used to be afraid of public speaking. And so that was part of when I started my next company. I was like, I'm going to overcome this. I want to go out and like get out there. Like I've been holding all this back. Like, so like somebody that wants to do some of those things. And I think that's the core of it. And somebody that wants to make an impact, right? So I guess purpose and impact kind of go hand in hand, but and a lot of my clients, they're trying to get, they're trying to build freedom in their lives. So purpose, freedom, impact, that kind of thing. There's
a greater purpose that you can tap into that finds out their driving force. That's usually going to push them down to become successful, and use that. And it sounds like you have to determine that even up front before you even bring them on as a client, because if they're not purpose driven, impactful, and willing to succeed, they're not going to, whether they put money or a lot of money or a little bit of money, they're just not going to do it, because there's no inner fire.
Yeah. And I think that, and like when I look back at one client that is just very successful, she has this really clear purpose, and like it's on her podcast, and it's just like you read the purpose and you're like, dang, that's like, it just like, even though it's not like, I'm not really in her sphere, I'm like, dang, that's a crazy purpose. Like, and it has this big vision, right? It's like, it's probably like, it's even probably something that she might not be able to like solve all on her own in her lifetime. Right. So It's big, it's even bigger than your own life, but you see how you're going to fit in your journey. And maybe in a few generations, this will come true, but that's what I think a good purpose is, right? It's like the purpose is even bigger than you in your lifetime.
How did you come across your purpose? Because I know it took you. I mean, you've been an entrepreneur for so long. Was it something that you saw the thing that needed to be fixed and resolved, and that's what you kind of dove into, or was it like? I mean, most of the time it's just wisdom and time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always had it like on my fingertips. I did end up hiring my own coach, and he was really big into the purpose thing, and he did help me kind of formalize it. So I had a little bit of help on that. It was right there. Like it didn't take me a long time to kind of, but like I had somebody kind of just help me kind of put it together, and like, and also sometimes I think, just a good coach will like force you to do it, like make you like this is important, man. Like I'm not going to let you do anything else until you kind of like formalize this. And so, and I think it was helpful. Like because here's the other thing is like when I wake up every day, I look at that, and regardless of how that day goes, right? So it's like, or if I don't want to do something, I can look at that and say, oh, I'm supposed to be contributing to this. And it does make some of these other things that you're doing a little more palatable, because you're serving something bigger. Because there are certain things, I'm sure you wake up every day, there's certain things you don't want to do. Yeah. Like there are certain things that I do that I don't like to do. And like, you have to kind of figure out something that's going to get you past that. Because if you get real micro on some of these tasks, you might just quit.
Yeah. One thing I didn't realize about this till a couple of years ago, but how important is it to have a coach or mentor in business? Because in like the regular world, everybody's like, how can I afford a coach or mentor? Because they're thing. But when in the business world, it's like I talked to a mentor of mine, and he has a health coach, he has a business coach, he has all these different people that help him become the best version of himself in his personal relationships, health, like all these different people that influence him. And he
Right.
pays them all. So like, how important is
And
is
some
the
of them are
coach?
expensive.
Some are expensive, exactly.
Yeah. I think it's important, and I look at coaches and mentors a little bit differently sometimes. And I don't know if there's a real line on here, but like I see mentors as a little bit more of like a friend, and maybe you're not necessarily paying them. And like the conversations are a little less guided. I think a good coach whittles everything down to like the next most important thing you should be working on. Like, cause that's what I think a good coach can do is like, there's all these millions of things, but like, what's the single most important thing that you have to solve right now? And then how do you solve it? But I think it's imperative, especially if I'm a coach, like, why would you hire me as a coach if I didn't have a coach? Like it would be kind of incongruent, right? Like, hey, hire me, man. Like, and then you're like, do you have a coach? No, I don't, why would I have a coach? Yeah. So I think it's important. Like the coaches, I think there are lots of bad coaches, so you got to find the one that fits with you. But I think it's important because you only got one life, and you want to like reach, not everybody, but like you want to achieve certain things. And so why not have somebody that can like just help guide you and help you stay focused. And if you get one, listen to what they say,
Yeah.
Otherwise, otherwise, what's the point? Do everything they said.
If the coach is where you want to be, do what they say, because they're already on that path.
Now, in truth, like there's no coach that's going to be able to promise you something, so something might not go the way you want. But if you're going to hire him, do it, because if you don't do what they say, then and there's a million reasons why you might not. You just might be don't want to do it, or it's just like you have to conquer some fear. But if you don't do it, you're never going to know. Like it's always going to be this like thing that's like, were they right, or it's just going to leave like some sort of ambiguous nature to the relationship.
I will 100% agree with that, because it's shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
Like if I would have done it, would have worked, but I didn't listen to it because I'm stubborn, and I realized I'm stubborn 5 years later. But would it have worked 5 years ago? And it's one of those things like the past is hindsight, of course. You can't really redo the decisions, but you always, the bigger the decision that you didn't make at that time, you always feel the ramifications in the future.
Yeah, and a good coach, I think most of the time, is just giving you something subtle to do. It's the subtle shifts that usually produce the most results. And that's again why it's good to work with people that are aligned with you, because like you're going to get better results for your clients when you can just give them subtle pushes and get them what they want, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have to like reinvent, like you have to do some crazy thing to get somebody a result, it's like it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's funny. Let's kind of pivot into content creation and your passion now. Let's kind of delve into that. So what's your purpose and impact that you try to pass through to business entrepreneurs and coaches to make a bigger impact?
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because like content really, like, and I had to like analyze this a bit, but content has always been a part of what I do. So when I grew my previous business, it was all on like thought leadership, expert content, talking about innovation. I just did a live on this earlier. Like a long time ago, I did this blog about how JavaScript was going to be like the biggest language out there, or one of them. I know it's like people will debate me, but it became that. And it was like, that was one of my first blogs that went viral and on Hacker News and stuff. So that's always been something that's been a part of me. And then in this case, it just kind of came down to like, so when I sold that previous business, I went to start the next one, and I started getting into content and video and marketing and social media, and a light bulb went on my head. I was like, man, I could have built the other business so much faster. And it was kind of funny because I was building my second business was going to be different than what I have right now. But I wasn't really interested in it. And but I would go to these lunches with all these entrepreneurs, and I would actually get them excited about marketing and growing their business. And they were like starting to ask me if I could help them with that. And then the light bulb went off. I was like, hey, I'm super passionate about this. And so all I do now is I make content around, I do make automation content because I'm a tech guy. So it's like, it helps me cut through the noise a lot, but I'm just creating content to help people build their business ultimately, and marketing and video creation and productivity, automation systems. And then like, how do you make an impact in the world? And so that goes to serving my purpose of trying to help people, helping entrepreneurs like grow their business.
Yeah. So that's sgplabs.com.
Yep.
SGP Labs. One of the biggest things that a lot of people think that it doesn't count for them, but I think it's for every business. I kind of want to talk about this, is that most people think they shouldn't be content creation because they're too small. So let's kind of address that issue, because for me, in my head, I'm like, everybody needs to produce content because it's the digital age we're in. And it doesn't matter if you're big or small, that's what gets you organic traffic. But what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, you have this free traffic, basically. And you're able to, like we said somewhat in the beginning, it's like free traffic, free eyeballs at scale, helping people, showing your expertise, making an impact. And I mean, like, one thing that I see a lot of is like the people that are really using social media really well, it's all like the people starting brand new businesses, like it's a lot of times younger people. And then it's also like the big brands. The big brands get it. They've been doing this for a long time. It seems to be there's this portion in the middle, and I'm sure it's like smaller business as well. But I just think they're stuck in an old mindset. It's just like networking groups and, like trying to do the pitch once they like get somebody in the chair. And it's like the world has just shifted. And the funny thing is, as well, is you talk to most of those people, and most of those people have bought products from social media. They've either hired someone or bought a product from something they found on social media. So like they're not even making the connection that they're not participating in the thing that they use to make their own buying decisions.
It's a funny story with that. So my wife bought something online, and me as my marketer, I'm like, what was the lead page like? Send me the lead page. I'm going through the funnel, because whatever sold her, I want to see that, because now my intuition is going like, I can copy that. I can use that, because if it worked on my wife and it worked on somebody as a consumer, me as a producer and seller, I need to figure out the angle. So it's a funny insight you said there.
Yeah, and on that note too, like we were also talking about like testing your ideas. Like that's how you can test them, right? So like if like a lot of times people are, when they hire me, they're like, what idea is going to be good, or like what's the best offer? And I'm like, I'll help you get that formulated as quickly as possible, but like only the marketplace is going to tell you that. So like when you have these ideas, and this is the genius of like TikTok, at least right now, is like instead of like trying to make the perfect video, you just throw stuff out there. And it's like, did people react to it? Did they ask you questions? Did they ask for more? Like I'm always surprised, like the videos that do well there. Like it's not the ones that I thought would do well. But then once I've done a few of them, then I can go back and say, okay, I guess people want more of this. And that's why I keep making those automation videos, is because they just seem to pop and they cut through the noise. Because I think it's like that's something that I can do that nobody else can do.
Yeah. It's kind of funny too, because if you like, you might only see that one video, but if you go to their account, they're like 10 videos about the same thing, and they just change one sentence, and it goes over and over again. And then like you see one stuck a little bit better, one stuck a little bit more, and then one blew up, and you're like, okay, they literally did the same video over and over again and just rephrased it, and then one did better than the other, and they just kept on running with it.
Yeah, but I think most people would have a hard time, even me sometimes, like I'll be like, oh, I just made that video. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like nobody, like people aren't going to remember it. Number one, the people that liked it will probably like it again. And like, it's just like, people are not obsessed with us. Like nobody's remembering what I do or what you do. And like
what I said yesterday, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And like, this is another thing that's a little bit of a tangent, but I think one of the reasons why Mindset and all these like fulfillment coaches out there are coming out, like helping you live a fulfilling life, is because life is changing really rapidly. And like these things like social media, and like there's benefits to them, but there's also like some negative parts to them. Mm-hmm. And like people don't know how to navigate it, and it's confusing.
New. It's uncharted territory that they've never been through. And if you walk through it blindly, it can hit you hard if it goes the wrong direction.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like if somebody says something nasty to you, like it can affect you, right? It's like, we're not like, I don't know. Yeah, I think if you have a good purpose, like that can help you go through that kind of stuff. But like those kind of things are they can mess with you.
Yeah, so that's a great point, because there's a lot of trolls out there. People just talking. They'll never be your customer. So in your opinion, do you address it or do you let it go? Because some people like being abrasive to get more likes and followers, and other people just let it go and not even address it. So what's your opinion on that?
So the way I handle it personally is I just had one of these, like I did an automation video and people didn't understand certain things about it. They're like, oh, you made this super complicated when it's so simple. And so I made a couple video responses just providing more value. Like one guy also said, great job showing people how to automate things and actually giving them nothing tangible that they can use on how to create content. So
I got 30 seconds here. Come on.
yeah. Well, there's that too. But then I just made a video. I said, okay, fine. Here's a video on how to create content. I addressed it. What's kind of cool about it too is like I didn't like address his comment. Like I didn't answer him. I wasn't talking to him. I just made a video on how to create content. And his little comment was sitting up there so that people could see it. And then at the end, I just said, hey, here's how you turn a negative comment into something positive. So I try to do that. And then I feel a lot better too.
I'm going to jump off on a tangent because my wife talked to me about this recently. Somebody, and this is a celebrity thing. And I'm like, I'm not really into that, but there was a point, and I thought I'd never bring this up, but it was crazy. Somebody in a family member, some friend of a celebrity told some gossip around them. And a friend of hers is like, well, if it's already out there, use that gossip and make money off of it because they might have made a little bit of money, but you can turn this into a large revenue source. So it's one of those things where you can monetize even an ugly or nasty comment and make it into a revenue source just by addressing it right there, then and there.
Yeah. I think so. Like, and I think there's no right or wrong, I guess. Like if you want to, you can approach it any way you want, but that's how I do it because it's just my personality. Like I want to be a positive person. I don't want to, like, if I go down rabbit holes with people, like bad email threads, any of that stuff, I just feel worse. Like, so like, I'm just going to return it with a positive response and try to do good in the world. You know, that's how I look at it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great point. I think I'm going to address it more just because people that are nasty and rude in some cases just need to be addressed in general, but they need to be done so in a patient way because that patient way is not the response they're looking for, but it's a response that it makes sense across the board.
Yeah, I agree. And then also plus like having a little bit of like thick skin too, because there are some people that are leaving legitimate comments.
Yeah.
That are just kind of like just very direct and they're not actually being a troll. They're just saying like, I think you're full of it. Right. And they're not necessarily being like, I think there's a delicate balance between just having a different opinion and being very direct about it, as opposed to someone that's like literally trying to tear you down. Right. Yeah. And so like, you also have to see those and not like go off the rails. So this is why people have mindset coaches, right? Like we're having, like, we've never had to deal with some of these realities of life.
You never had to like explain yourself to 100 of people that you never seen or spoken to before.
Yeah, I have a feeling things will change. Like, I think we're in a transitional period where like social media exists in a particular way where all the major corporations control these little networks. And we're kind of all forced to just like feast over all this organic traffic that just goes to everybody. But like, I think with the Web 3.0 stuff and like these little communities, I think I see that as like the return to like tribal stuff, but using digital systems, right? So like,
I agree.
Yeah. So we'll get back to the way it used to be, but in a digital way where we can just hang with our tribe and not necessarily have to like exist in the social media space as it lives right now. And I'm quite frankly, I'm looking forward to that because like I'm doing the social media game partly because this is like you have to deal with certain realities in life. Like this is how people buy right now.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily enjoy every piece of it. I do enjoy parts of it. I enjoy creating content and helping people, but there's other pieces I don't. But I think it's a transitional period that will ultimately come to a different conclusion when there's distributed networks that people don't own.
I really want to talk about this because that's such a key point, and a lot of people are missing this.
Right.
I recognize the transition as well, and it's going to the creator economy where instead of Twitter, Instagram, and everybody else, they're communicating with their tribe, and you can directly with your tribe. So there's a lot of products coming out where you can build your own social media app to control your own tribe, and you can connect with your own people directly.
Yeah,
and we're definitely very early on with that. But if you want to monetize and build and capitalize on this transition, you got to start producing content now to actually build up your tribe now, because once the tribes are built, that's all. I mean, it's going to be a lot harder to build, find, and coordinate your own tribe because they're already giving you a second their tribe. Right now is the transition point where you can kind of catch people while they're transitioning in that stage. And a lot of people are missing that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And this is like, the world's moving a lot faster than most people can really grasp. So I don't really like, from a technical standpoint, I actually from a technical standpoint, I do understand how blockchain works. But I think where a lot of people go wrong is they see all the NFT stuff and like the Bitcoin stuff, and that's a distraction from ultimately what this is, which is just a distributed system that allows for trust and no ownership. And if you understand the fundamentals, like that's huge, because humanity exists on trust. Like that's what it's all about. Like whether you buy a $20 product, or like you need less trust in order for someone to buy a $20 product. You need more trust in order for someone to buy a $10,000 product, but it's still, there's a trust involved. That's what these networks provide. And like people they think of the NFTs and the Bitcoins and stuff as like something silly. So they're forgetting or not paying attention to all the other stuff. So I'm not like in the metaverse or anything like that. I'm not sure I want to be exactly in the metaverse, but I understand the core of what's happening. And so even though I'm not like participating in it exactly, I know what's happening, and like therefore like my radar is out, and I will be navigating this as it comes out.
Yeah. And that's right there. That's the key. Anybody that's in business or wants to be in business, it's not about making trends, it's about catching a trend.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I worry about some of these people that are just still doing the networking group. It's like, and again, not passing judgment on it, because still a networking group is a great place to meet people in person and all that kind of stuff. But like, there's a whole world happening here that's like just vastly different and not that hard to understand. But like Gary Vee talks about this a lot. Like he made a bunch of money off of the NFTs and stuff. And his basic pitch was like, hey, I just took out, it's like you can meet really cool people and network and make a lot of great relationships if you do it the right way. So.
And connect. Connections is important.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for your time. Please check us out, Stephen G. Pope, on all platforms.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on. Like 50 hours worth of my time, and just like figured out what this was. And I mean, he has all sorts of help from people to help him with this stuff.
Mentors and capital.
But he just took, but his main point, the thing that I took away is like, he took some time out of his life and read about what these things were.
And capitalized.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But also to understand, right?
The future.
Yeah. And so like, he like instead of just getting caught up in saying, oh, Bitcoin's a scam, NFTs are a scam, like why would I buy a digital JPEG? It was like more understanding of like, oh, I need to understand what's happening underneath here.
Mm-hmm. Now there's a lot out there that's happening, and I think just keeping your eyes open and not even like me. I'm like you. I'm not participating because I feel it's too early. Like things will get easier as it progresses, but if you build up that, and I think this is such amazing that I think we're on the same page as community. Everything drives with the community, and everything's going to go back to a tribal fashion. So if you have products or services that, if you build trust with the community, you have essentially clients for life. And I've seen it online already with some of my clients. They're really big on Twitter, and they have that community on Twitter that is so loyal to them that every time they release a new product or service, there's somebody there to buy it. Even if they don't even consume it, they're there to buy it because there's that trust factor there.
Right. Yeah. And like, I guess a SaaS company is going to be a little bit different. Like you need hundreds of thousands of customers, but like if you're a consultant or a service provider, you only need like 100 or 50, like how many people do you really need to run a big successful business? Like I'm in a mastermind group, and like the guy that, he makes $7 or $8 million a year, and he's basically got, 100 customers. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those are numbers that most people can look at and say, oh, I could get 100. I mean, it's not easy to getting 100 customers paying a big chunk of change.
Premium, but you have to know your audience and who your target audience is. So make sure that when you are talking to your target audience.
Yeah. And then just realizing that, like, I think a lot of us are selfish in a lot of ways. Like, out of all of the followers I have on TikTok or whatever, I don't need them all. I just need a few trusted people. And I don't, so it's just like, I think perspective plays a role. in some of this stuff, like, because you can get caught up in like feeling like you need more and more and more and more.
100%. Man, we covered a lot in this conversation, and it's
Yeah.
definitely not what's normally covered on these on top of these calls. I'm sure this is a different conversation that you normally have as well.
It is, yeah, it is.
Definitely check him out. TikTok, YouTube, Stephen G. Pope. What is a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
Oh man, a quote. Oh geez, this is like where. See, I'm dyslexic, so I'm bad with this kind of thing. I'm trying to remember like I'm trying to be smart and remember this Peter F. Drucker quote, but it's like
not there.
But
that's why I like asking this question, because sometimes it's like I did one yesterday, and they're like, oh, I put this on every email. It's my body in my email, and it's like that's something that it's like believed to my core. And some people it's just like, oh, I have a ton of them, and I can't think of them all. And then there's other people like, I got 10 of them. Which one do you want?
Yeah, and I'm kind of like the ones like I'm not sure I have one. So
I mean, we can make one up for you. I think something is being impactful and making a difference.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, freedom, impact, and purpose, maybe.
Freedom, impact, and purpose. So now you got to make that the body of your email, because now you know.
That's
somebody
true.
asked you what it was, and now you know what it is.
It's funny too, and I kind of came back to that same realization just a few days ago. I was running around the track. Because you can lose touch with those things, especially if you're in tech and you're doing automation and stuff like that. You can really lose sight of like, especially, and I tell people this in my automation group too. I'm like, make sure you don't start all this tech stuff before you like are just creating content and like you have a workflow. So it's like, yeah, it's like freedom, impact, and purpose.
We'll get to it eventually. We'll make it happen. We'll find it on the call.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. Is there a book that you can recommend to our audience that's changed your life?
Again, I'm dyslexic, so I don't read as much. But there was a Peter F. Drucker book that I did read that I thought was really awesome. It was about management. And that was a really great business book. And it's written by just like an old school guy. So it just has like fundamentals in there. And then there was actually another marketing book that I think really kind of opened my eyes. It was Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And so I've consumed all sorts of content, like from video and stuff like that. It's a little bit more like on the personal side and the personal development side. But like in terms of like business and books that I've read, those are the two ones that like really stand out because they were very tangible and like actionable. So a lot of marketing books, they're kind of like, they're interesting. Like they're like, but like you can't really apply them all the time. And Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller was like, oh, it's like I can almost just like take this template and just like do something that evening and write something out that would actually be impactful for a business. So that's what I would call out.
So I think I have a new question I'm going to ask based on our dyslexic people, because now I've never had somebody, usually people are really quick to answer those questions. So who's somebody that you recommend I should follow on social media?
For you, actually one guy, like, cause you run a software company, a SaaS company, there's a guy named Chris Walker.
Chris Walker.
He helps like tech startups grow fast. He's on LinkedIn and he's one of those people that like I came across. And you know how like a lot of times people like on social media, they're it's like teaser information.
Yeah.
It just gives you enough to feel like you're not qualified and then you hire them. Like he gives a lot of his stuff away. He's one of those people that really understands marketing really well and has a real focus, and he's been like a real inspiration for me, and he's given me a lot of the things I say, they're like almost verbatim. Like I've gone through them, but like sometimes I just can't say it better than he does, so I just say it the same way. So
no one knows, so it's yours at that point.
Yeah, I've always been a little sensitive with some of that stuff because I definitely don't want to be a stealer. But but at a certain point, when you've said it so many times, like how many times are you going to keep saying that you heard it from somebody? But I usually try to give him the credit because like he's helped me a lot. And then I like Gary Vee. You know, it seems like he's a genuine guy. He's helped me out a lot as well. So those are two people that I would call out.
Well, I think those are great. So I'm gonna have to keep that. I'm gonna have to keep that question handy for people that are dyslexic, because I'm not a reader either. So I'm always like, I guess I'll have to.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many books I've read. It's like it's very. I consume my information through video, and you know what else? Through talking to people.
Yeah.
a lot of my best friends are intellectual types. And so I'll just sit there and I'll just they're my cliff note basically.
Yeah.
And I'll just be and that also made me a good interviewer in some sense. Is it's like, I know how to pull information out of people that I need. I need to, I can just keep pulling it from you until I have the mental framework I need. And then I can move with it. So that's been a way I've kind of compensated for not being the best reader or writer. I can read, it's just painful and it's not fun. So I don't do it.
I completely understand. I think we covered a lot. I hope people get a ton of value. Please check him out. Stephen G. Pope, pretty much all platforms. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. This
has been awesome, man. And I look forward to helping you out in the community. And this is just a testament, guys. We met on TikTok.
This show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.